So my name is Brock Braden. I'm a sophomore here, class 2027, AAAAA. I'm a biochemistry major, minoring in bioinformatics. All the fun classes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What has been some of the challenges that you've faced in your faith life in college?
I mean, I think there's a good little list of them. I think that some are more prevalent than others. I know for me, so like coming out from a small town, my dad's really involved back home in the church. He's big in liturgy. He's big on I was altar serving as a kid from a young age. I was lecturing. I was always really involved. Yeah. And so when I came to St. Mary's, naturally I did the same thing. I got involved. I joined John 15. I joined the Bible study. I was going to 2 masses a day.
Yeah.
On a Sunday, and I went to daily mass. I went to daily mass. Okay, I didn't go to daily mass all first semester. That's kind of the story. But and so I was going because it was just kind of habitually built into my life.
Okay.
I didn't miss mass on Sundays. That's just who I was since I was the day I was born. And so I didn't. But at the same time, I didn't have daily prayer. I didn't have any of that. And so I think the challenge is to break out of that habitual just going to mass and fulfilling the Sunday obligation, and actually becoming close with God, making a relationship, becoming a better Catholic in the way you love God and let yourself be loved by God, which is still something I struggle with all the time, is letting myself be loved by God. And so that really came for me second semester. Had some things happen, right at the start of second semester of freshman year. Leaned on my friends. It was a pretty hard time, but through that I went to awakening right after that, and so that's all that needed to happen. That Lent was one of the best times of my life. That's why winter is my favorite season. If you ask me what my favorite season was right now, it'd be winter because just because it brings me back to how I felt as a person back then. I was going to daily mass 5 times a week. I started attending mass. I got into music real big. Music is a huge part of my life now. Yeah. And so I think, going back to that, I get so off topic so easy. But going back to, the big challenge is breaking the habit and just kind of letting yourself pray daily, really giving yourself to the Lord, not just going through what you is good. It's kind of I kind of relate it to for example, if you're working out, if you go and you do, if you bike for 15 minutes and you say you worked out, you really didn't, but if you go and you run 5 miles at 6-minute pace, then you really worked out. Both are labeled workouts, but one does a lot better for you than the other.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there, because a lot of times we try to, create good habits to combat the bad habits. But what you're kind of saying is don't make it a habit. Yeah. Just make it part of your life. Yeah. So how has St. Mary's helped you with that?
There's a lot of ways it's helped me with that. There's just so many opportunities. We have so many ways people can get involved, but at the same time, it's the people here that do that. It's the reason that we have these opportunities here at St. Mary's is so we can meet those people. The opportunities themselves, for example, at John 15, we have talks, spiritual direction talks. And the talks are amazing, and the people who lead them are great people. Yeah. But at the end of the day, what helps me most isn't the talks, it's the guys that I reflect on the talks with. I got to be really good friends first semester. So how we were kind of structured, so we became good friends before we really got deep, with the talks and stuff. But so coming in second semester, we'd sit on the couches downstairs after the talks. We'd always rush to get them first come, first serve. Yeah. And we would just, as we got deep, we went through some of our struggles, we've had. We went through our wins, our failures, our shortcomings, and all those. And so being able to use these opportunities to grow in friendship and faith and virtue, through those. There's an analogy I like to use of hot coals. I know you've heard me back at Miles or Rowena give that talk, but around here there's a lot of hot coals, and so it's more of finding those hot coals. St. Mary's just has tons of them, and so when you immerse yourself in a lot of people who are on fire, you yourself catch flame. It's if you have one branch burning, or if you have 20 branches burning, one's a bonfire, one's a campfire.
Exactly.
And so I'm at a bonfire here, and so and that's how St. Mary's has really helped, just by the sheer number of on fire Catholics.
That's awesome. So St. Mary's is becoming quickly known as the vocation machine out here. There's just so many stories of vocations coming out of this place. What's the secret?
Well, I think it's different for everybody, if I'm being completely honest. I have some good friends. There's some you'll interview later today, and some you've already interviewed who are discerning the priesthood. Here, there's no pressure. I feel like when I was back home, and not even by like meaning to do it, but like if you told someone, what do you want to be when you grow up, and you said a priest, everybody's like, oh, like, okay, they kind of look at you. Or if I want to say I want to be a doctor, like, oh, that's gonna be awesome, you're gonna make a lot of money, and then they're like, oh, it's kind of almost like it kind of turns you off from kind of going to like pursue that life. And so here, like, if it's like when my friend came to me and he told me he was like, yeah, I'm gonna start your priesthood, like everybody was like going crazy. We're like, dude, that's awesome. Like we're so happy for you. We're gonna be praying for you, every step of your journey. And so, and that support from the people around us is really, really big to know that like that's a great thing. And another reason is just, because of the emphasis on loving God, like, and that's something as Catholics I feel like we really struggle with. We get so tradition is an amazing thing and it's a beautiful blessing, but sometimes we get too caught up in tradition. As awesome as tradition is, we focus on the Mass. We say the Nicene Creed without saying the Nicene Creed. We pray the Gloria without praying the Gloria. And so it's all these things that like when we focus on that here and we really work on living it out and we start to feel loved by God and put all of our hearts in loving God, that we feel that in return. And that feeling that I finally experienced, because people have told me it all my life. I've heard since when I was 8 years old, I heard, Father Francis back in Midgift tell me about this. And I heard Father Prim and Father Chen and all of them tell me about this back home. And I've heard Father Tom and Bishop Sis, and I never got it. I got here, and I went to Awakening, and I got it. Like I understood it. I felt it. I lived it. And that feeling, it's more, and I just gotten out of like an amazing relationship that ended like a lot earlier than I thought it would, And that love that I felt through God was unspeakably larger and more satisfying and peacemaking than anything I could have had in a human form. Our vocations call us to love. Sure. And I've felt personally no greater love than loving Christ. And so people around here at St. Mary's who are put into that, it's the same kind of thing. Like they realize they're never going to find love outside of that like they do with Christ. We had a talk given at Connect by a girl named Laura Beth James, and she heard a homily one place that this bishop was saying that some places on earth are thinly veiled, is the term that she used for it. Okay. She says there's little pieces of this world that the veil is drawn back to heaven. Like we get small glimpses of what heaven is like. And St. Mary's is one of those places. It's thinly veiled. And so the people here, it's thinly veiled, so they feel that love of Christ so easily and it comes so naturally. And after you feel that, you don't want anything. Like you don't desire anything else but just that love. And so people have no problem. They have no worry, no fear, no longing for anything else. They say, I want to give myself to you. And so that's why we have so many vocations.
Wow. That's beautiful. Man, I want to go back to college. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I would not be kidding. From what my dad says anyway.
Yeah. So Catholicism and Texas A&M have so much in common with traditions, like you were saying. I liked what you said about not getting caught up in the traditions. Because we do so, since all of our prayers we recite them so much, they become so familiar that it does become a habit, a tradition that and then we forget to say them while we're saying them. And we just rattle them off. So that's kind of maybe a negative side of tradition. But Texas A&M and Catholicism have that traditions in common. So how much being, you come from an Aggie family. So how much has St. Mary's become a tradition for Aggie Catholics?
Well, I think it really has. I got it for me. That's something my dad talked about since I was a little kid. It's like just St. Mary's, St. Mary's, St. Mary's, St. Mary's, St. Mary's. And even when I got on campus, like I went to my first 9 o'clock mass here, and I turned around and went right back into the 11 o'clock mass. Like I was like, this is the best thing ever. Yeah. Like and I called my dad. My dad's like, I did the exact same thing the first time I went to St. Mary's. And I honestly, I give a lot of glory to the music because the music's just so good. I just want to sit there and sing it all again. Yeah. But that's the tradition I feel like in my household. But on campus, it's the year tradition, like the year to year. So like for me, like I'm trying my best as a group leader through John 15 and like to pass that tradition down to my freshmen. As you've already interviewed one of my group leaders, Blake Morris. He was my group leader for John 15. And they did a great job of passing that down, by convincing me to go to Awakening and convincing me to join this Bible study and convincing me to join Focus, which I'm now a commissioned disciple and a part of. Like, it's something that you can find if you seek, but it's also really easy if somebody like brings it to you. And so, the tradition of being involved, like that's a tradition that's often very, like looked over, not just the tradition of, I don't know, like John 15 or the tradition of going to Mass on Sundays. It's the tradition of like just really like buying your faith and like getting into it and getting involved. I mean, that's how you grow. And I'll swear by the fact that just like one of the biggest like ways we grow our faith is just by talking about it.
Oh, absolutely.
And we do a lot of talking here at St. Mary's. Like we'll sit on the couch. It'll be 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Everybody's got class and talk about it. There's so many conversations, spiritual conversations that go around here. And, you can pray by yourself, and prayer is an amazing thing. It gets you on fire. But if you have a conversation with somebody about it, even for 30 minutes, like you're gonna walk away feeling, it's like the spiritual pump. You know what I'm saying? You leave the gym and you feel like gigantic.
Right.
It's the spiritual pump.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that we do with Rome Boys. It's a men's group.
Yeah.
And when we get together and we come out of there after having an amazing conversation or a talk or whatever, it just fires us up.
Yeah.
And makes us want to do more. How do we keep going?
And that's what I wish like small towns did. Like I really try, especially when I go home this like winter break. I just want to have like a 4-week Bible study.
Yeah.
For guys, just cook some dinner. Have some people over.
Oh man, do it.
I'm trying to, like, really am, because part of Focus discipleship is like I'm supposed to lead Bible studies.
Okay.
And
nice.
But no, like, 'cause that's something we lack so much. We get from my experience back home, and like all the farmers out there, and like even the people who aren't farmers who just live their lives, they get so caught up in work, and so caught up in kids. I mean, you're supposed to be. That's what you're called to do as a father or as a mother. But we have to make time for the spirit. It's like the spiritual life. It's just a necessity. And so, I mean, if we all have an hour a week, okay, not all of us, but most of us have an hour.
Yeah.
Like, whether that's Sunday nights at 8 o'clock or Monday mornings at 6 a.m., Like, there's a little sacrifice we made, like, even as waking up earlier in the morning. That group can be formed. I know, like, I'm looking at becoming a Connect MC next year. And so one of the things, like, their group meetings last year, like, they'd get up at 5 in the morning. Their meetings were at 5 in the morning because that's what worked for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's 2-hour meetings once a week. Yeah. And so, like, we're college kids, we're all busy. Not as busy as necessarily like working adults with kids and stuff, but you found time. And I think that's I wish something that's like, small towns did more, and like I hope maybe somebody listening to this will take initiative, hopefully. But
absolutely.
Because like I said, just talking about it is what brings a community alive.
Yeah, talking about it, and you say finding time, making time.
Making time.
Well, I mean, farmers like getting up early. Hey, get up early one day a week. Yeah. Get you guys together. Yeah. Sometimes most of those guys would rather do it on the tailgate, but that's okay. That's a different story.
Yeah.
So last question. What does St. Mary's mean to you?
Yeah.
It's been a loaded question all day.
That's a packed question.
Yeah.
There's this song that I can't stop myself from thinking of. It's one of my favorite songs, and it's called Build My Life by Pat Barrett. And I've built my life here. I made a lot of friends in high school. I made a lot of good friends throughout my FFA days and through Acts days. But at St. Mary's, I've met my groomsmen. I've met my best man. I've met the people. I've met the people in 20 years. I'm going to be calling every Sunday, just to check in. But through that, I've built my life on it. It's become my foundation. In that song, it says, "I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm, firm foundation." And the love of Christ I found here. And I feel like the love of Christ isn't just in the Eucharist, and it is 100%, and it's just in the church. But it's through, a good handshake or a hug with your friend that you haven't seen in a week. It's through those car rides at night, going to an intramural football game. It's the love of Christ, all those things. I see love in all of those. And so that's what St. Mary's has really been to me. It's been my foundation when I have hard weeks, when I have hard months, when I have hard days.
Sure.
I come here. When I'm struggling, I come here. I go back. People always say they go back to their roots. You've heard that expression many times.
Yeah.
I go back to my foundation, and this here has become my foundation. And when it's through Christ and it's Christ-centered, that foundation is a really, really strong aspect, and it really helps boost me to where I want to be. Yeah. And so,
all we can ask for is or try to do as parents is try to build a foundation for our kids to build their faith on. And It's just a beautiful thing when we finally take the initiative to do it. You know, a lot of times, most people just leave that foundation sitting. They don't do nothing with it. But you lead a horse to water, right? But eventually, at least that foundation will always be there. So.
And the thing about foundation is like, in a non-metaphorical way, is like, kind of like we think of foundation as like a slab of concrete or something like that.
Right.
You know, you pour it once and it's done, but it's not that. You know, you got to continually build your foundation. Like there's never a moment, and I pray I never become steadfast. You know, I pray that I'm never like, okay, my foundation's good enough.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
Right.
You know, we're humans. We're not. It'll never be good enough, and so I think that we can't become complacent in our faith ever, especially even at St. Mary's. You know, I'm always looking for more opportunities. I'm running out of time, and I'm running. I mean, you know, I'm kind of becoming burnt out. You know, because I haven't had a break. But like, at the same time, like I'm always building. I'm looking for this opportunity, and this opportunity. I'm just
sure. Oh no, everybody needs their time to reset.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I found that through music, thankfully. But
that's great. Well, I'm glad you did. Yeah, no, that makes sense. You know, having to build that foundation. Because what does it say? You know, you said about steadfast. You know, becoming lukewarm.
Yeah.
What does it say in Revelation? You know, he will spew. If you become lukewarm, he will spew you out of his mouth. So you don't want to be lukewarm.
Yeah.
You want to stay on fire. And apparently, this place is keeping it lit, as you said, with the coals. Yeah. Thanks, man.
Sure.
This has been great.